The cryptocurrency market has undergone substantial growth, but the market remains volatile. The aim is to use stock market data and Twitter sentiment to analyse the correlations with regard to the cryptocurrency market. Due to this volatility, many people were interested to find out if there are factors that influence the cryptocurrency market, or even those that can predict trends in the market. The current state of knowledge around cryptocurrencies does not fully take into consideration the effect that stock market fluctuations and Twitter sentiment have on the cryptocurrency market. This means there is a lack of understanding regarding the relationships between these three items. This study aims to use stock market data and Twitter sentiment data to analyse the correlations, if any, with the cryptocurrency market. This study is important for investors, bankers and government because they can benefit through gain knowledge shown in this presentation. This knowledge creates a more predictable market for investments or standardising currencies. According to analysts at DataTrack, since investors have only one brain to process risk, they will make similar decisions about cryptocurrencies and stocks when they see price volatility in the latter. This project intends to look for correlations that may prove this to be true, that these two markets are in fact interconnected. The objective of this project is to see what key factors, if any, influence the cryptocurrency market. Cryptocurrency is a decentralized, unregulated, peer-to-peer online currency such as Bitcoin or Ripple. The key factors we observed for correlations were Twitter sentiment, stock data, and prediction data. Twitter sentiment was used to analyse the unregulated peer-to-peer structure of the currencies. This allowed the comparison of an unregulated platform in cryptocurrencies to the sentiment of Twitter users to measure how reactive the market is to its influencers. In contrast, stock markets are highly regulated but also similar in structure, therefore they were also reviewed against cryptocurrencies. Comparing a regulated platform to an unregulated one could lead to an insight on how important regulation can be in relation to price. Finally, a prediction model was created to understand the market from an internal viewpoint.
To complete a rigorous analysis and enhance critical thinking, Socratic questioning and the data analytics lifecycle were used to guide the project. Socratic questioning was used to develop a foundation for critical thinking. It helped to develop important questions which were answered and reviewed throughout the project. The most useful results were from the three sections regarding perspectives, outcomes, and meta-questions. Two questions were created from the perspective section. The first is, are the dependencies reversed, where stock or Twitter is affected by cryptocurrencies? The solution to this question is to complete statistical modeling where the independent and dependent variables are reversed. The second question is, who benefits from the results of this project? It was decided that bankers, government agencies, and investors in cryptocurrencies would gain knowledge from this project. The second section, implications, had one main question. What if we are completely wrong in our assumption? If it was found that there were no correlations, it would mean cryptocurrencies are truly standalone and volatile, and a stock market crash should not affect the cryptocurrencies. Similarly, cryptocurrencies would not be affected by Twitter sentiment also. Finally, two main meta-questions were created. The first was, is one type of sentiment analysis better than the other? And the second was, what are the correlations between cryptocurrencies and stocks? And this was repeated for open values, predicted values, and sentiment analysis. The solutions to these questions will be discussed further in the analysis section. So from this Socratic questioning, our main analysis questions evolved and improved our qualitative analysis results. The data analytics lifecycle provides a framework to organize project work. The lifecycle was used to guide the project's development through each of the 6 phases, which are discovery, data prep, model planning, model building, results communication, and operationalization. The most important of these 6 phases was discovery because it revealed the pain points of the project, defined the success criteria, and encouraged more research. The discovery phase allowed research to be done on cryptocurrencies, stocks, and sentiment, and also to see if any past studies had been done on any of those topics. This section also allowed for the pain points of the project to be stated. They included narrowing down the data and options for removal, and another was the basic familiarity with the technology used. More research would need to be completed in order to use advanced technologies to complete data analysis. Finally, the main pain point was to figure out when to stop analyzing the data and come to a final conclusion. So the success criteria included understanding if there are any correlations with or without causation. They also included presenting the findings to the stakeholders in an easy-to-understand manner. Finally, the main success criteria is to thoroughly complete all tasks while utilizing a variety of resources and to determine key findings to explore in future projects. These steps help to see the issues that may come up in the project and also to outline guidelines for successful completion.
The data details section will cover the following 3 topics: what data types were used, where they came from, and what tools were used on them. The types of data that were retrieved for this project were cryptocurrencies, stocks, and Twitter data. Of the stock data, companies related to cryptocurrency were selected in sectors such as financial, computing, and technology. Similarly, Twitter feeds were selected based on influential relationships to the cryptocurrency community, such as those who created coins and related technologies. Both the cryptocurrency and stock data had a similar structure, making it easier to complete direct comparisons. Alternatively, the Twitter data was much less structured and needed transformations using Twitter sentiment analysis to be comparable with the other data sets. The 3 types of data were retrieved using various tools. Kaggle is a data repository that was the original source for the stock and cryptocurrency data. After the data was moved to Microsoft Access, it was run through a prediction model to create a predicted value and an error for each day. The error was created by comparing the actual open value to the predicted value. As for the Twitter data, it was pulled using Twitonomy. Various tools were used to transform the Twitter data into something directly comparable with the other 2 data sets. RStudio and Meaning Cloud were used to analyze the Twitter data to create a sentiment analysis score for each day for each user selected. Then Access was used to aggregate the data. Excel and Access were the main tools used for data storage and transformations. However, RStudio and VBA and Excel were secondary tools for other transformations. After these transformations, RStudio, Excel, and Tableau were used for completing analytics to be covered next. Additionally, Facebook and Google Drive were used to store, organize, and communicate all project-related information. To understand the key factors that influence the cryptocurrency market, it was broken down into 3 subtopics. The first topic question to be answered is, what are the correlations between cryptocurrency open values compared to stocks and other cryptocurrencies? Then, what are the correlations between cryptocurrency predicted values compared to stocks and other cryptocurrencies? Finally, what are the correlations between cryptocurrency and Twitter sentiment? To define the connection between datasets, qualitative and quantitative analysis were completed. The quantitative analysis used correlation results to determine interdependence. A score of plus or minus 1 is perfect correlation, plus or minus 0.9 is high correlation, and plus or minus 5 is low correlation, leaving 0 as no correlation. A positive score means that the 2 data sets move in tandem. As one increases or decreases, so does the other. A negative correlation is where the data sets work opposingly. A high correlation does not prove there is a direct causation between the correlation. Therefore, qualitative research is completed to understand connections between the pairings. When comparing open values to stocks and cryptocurrencies, they had the highest overall correlations, with an average range of medium to high. Of those, there are 2 interesting cases to be reviewed in more detail. Those cases are Stratus open values versus Bitcoin open values, and Stratus open values versus IBM predictions. Stratus open versus Bitcoin open has the highest correlation at 0.897. This makes sense because Bitcoin is the main type of cryptocurrency used, and in general, other currencies, such as Stratus, tend to follow its trends. This graph shows that over time, their trends are very similar. This scatter plot shows that there is a positive correlation with the trend line sloping up and to the right. Stratus open values versus IBM predicted values has a medium correlation of 0.701. Stratus is a cryptocurrency whereas IBM is a stock. Based on research, the causation for the correlation is most likely because they both provide blockchain as a service. Since they are in direct competition, it is reasonable to assume their value would change in a similar fashion over time. The scatter plot trendline shows a positive correlation, but as you can see by the r-squared value, the trend line is not a good fit, as previously shown with Stratus versus Bitcoin. Overall, when comparing predicted cryptocurrency values to stocks and other cryptocurrencies, there were very low correlations. The highest correlation was only 0.591 degrees of correlation for the pairing that was Stratus predicted values to IBM open values. When reviewing IBM versus Stratus, you can see there are some similarities in the trendline over time. However, it is much less than seen in the previous slide for Stratus open versus IBM predictions. This is due to the lower correlations by a factor of 0.110 degrees. In the scatter plot, a positive correlation can be seen by the trend line directed up to the right. As previously mentioned, the causation for the correlations most likely stem from both datasets being top competitors in the same market for blockchain as a service. In this section, 2 questions were asked. 1. Does sentiment influence cryptocurrency? 2. Is one type of sentiment better than another? As shown by this graph, the highest average correlation between Twitter sentiment and cryptocurrency is Bitcoin, at a correlation of 0.261. This may be because Bitcoin is the most influential cryptocurrency, mostly because of its popularity. The other currencies are not far behind, ranging from 0.233 to 0.117. Overall, there is little correlation between cryptocurrencies and the sentiment analysis. As for the differences in types of sentiment analysis used, this table shows the scores for each type. Based on the low results, more research is needed to determine if one is actually better than the other. Using Tableau, these graphs indicate the price of the cryptocurrency as a line, and then the color is the sum of sentiment score for the day. Based on visualizations of the data, there does not seem to be a clear pattern between the two, which supports the low correlation between sentiment and cryptocurrencies.
This final statement section will consist of limitations, future recommendations, and a conclusion. There were 3 main limitations on this project, which were time, knowledge, and a budget. Taking such a large amount of stock data, cryptocurrency data, and Twitter data from the start of this project, time was limited to complete an in-depth analysis on each of the datasets. Instead, much of the analysis time was used to narrow which datasets should be reviewed more rigorously. Time was also used in creating a domain knowledge of cryptocurrencies, stocks, and statistical tools. In regards to knowledge as a limitation, even after completing this research, there is still much left unknown. More experts could have been consulted in these areas of research to further knowledge. As for money, datasets retrieved were from free sources. However, there were other datasets that may have been better but cost money to use. Additionally, there was statistical software that would have been easier to use and understand, but purchases were needed to utilize those resources. After completing the project, ideas for future analysis have been considered. A more detailed analysis could have been completed if the project were narrowed to one type of analysis instead of the 3 covered, which were open, prediction, and sentiment, and also a higher focus on correlations rather than GLMs would have been beneficial. Another recommendation is that a larger sentiment dataset and dictionary would have been useful because a more robust R model could produce higher correlations. In total, it does seem that there is a relationship between cryptocurrencies regarding other cryptocurrencies and stocks, but not regarding Twitter sentiment. This is not a definitive answer to the initial question because more rigorous research is needed to fully understand cause and effect over time. Overall, this project was resources were utilized, and these were used to determine key findings that can be explored in future projects. So based on the criteria outlined in the Socratic questioning section, this project was successful. For more details regarding this topic, visit the link below.